You know, from
When I
sit down over there.
everyone in the picture. Flex them. Oh. I have a distinct memory when I was in grade. There we used to share that. And she did her hand. She like, only I can take a pencil. She just.
She's like hardcore.
Yeah. She's like, don't. I
use germs.
It was hard for your story. I think I cared about the germs, it was just the spit.
Yes, that's wrong. Perfect.
Yeah, it was weird. It worked.
And it worked.
Yeah.
You thought about it. Somebody never thought about that.
That was one.
Yeah. I think we'll be well within our.
Right.
All righty. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Amy, can I have a roll call, please?
Director Evans?
Here.
Director Byers? Here. Director Faulkner?
Here.
Hudson? Here. Director Mueller?
Here.
Vice President Petrov?
Here.
And President Cuneo?
Here. Welcome, Katie.
Good to be here.
Before we start our monthly SSD Board of Education work study, I would like to take a moment to remind the audience and the directors of the board of the work study process. The work study is a time to receive information from SSD leaders. We have 20 minutes set aside for each presentation, 20 minutes for the Board of Education to ask questions. If in the event we are approaching the 20-minute marker, I will alert the group when there is 5 minutes left. Amy, can you alert us on that? Thank you. We ask at that time to presenter finish up in the allotted time. The board director asking questions to finalize their questions. This is in respect for all the board of directors and the SSD leadership time. Thank you. I will say that if we have additional questions, we can deal with those later. Thank you. All right. First off, one is the Human Resources Office of Employee Success and Engagement presentation.
We have a new member here. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Boyd. I'm incoming Chief People and Culture Officer. Really excited to be here. I'm really excited to work with the leadership here, work with the board this year, and hope to do all that I can to support the staff so that we can make sure that students are as successful as possible. All right, Vice President Patrick, Board Directors and Dr. Keenan, I'm Phil Boyd, Chief People and Culture Officer, and I'm presenting an update on the Office of Employee Success and Engagement. One of the major focus of the department will be to look at people, culture, and wellness, knowing that if we can take care of the people, making sure that we have positive culture, we can make sure that we can support the efforts of students to achieve their full potential. Next slide. The office hopes to support the mission of the district by living into the vision. Next slide. We hope to be leaders in creating and shaping our equitable inclusive culture We want to make sure that we're honoring diversity, making sure that we're doing the things to be excellent, seeking innovation, and making sure that we are utilizing our department to enhance the employee work experience. Next slide. When we look at our guiding principles, we want to be able to support our principles by revamping processes and technology, as well as looking at overall staff development in the Office of Employee Success and Engagement. Next slide. In looking at our focus strategies, we will achieve these by making sure that we're streamlining our workflow, which starts with our success clerks. We'll be onboarding our recruiters at some point this year as well, and just making sure that we are eliminating barriers to hire and also making sure that we have access of employees to the Office of Employee Success and Engagement so that we can get ahead of any issues that impact our ability to retain and bring talent. Next slide. So in terms of department updates, in terms of leadership, there's myself. I have three amazing directors, Dan Kelly, Tracy Caruso, Brenda Dooley-Artis. We've also worked on, next slide, making sure that we have filled the positions that the board has approved in terms of the success managers, the employee relations manager, and the assistant director of equity and HR, which will be working with both myself and executive director, Dr. Mack. We're currently still recruiting for a few positions, but we expect to be able to close on the remaining positions that have been approved within the next few months. In general, hiring is difficult for teaching positions across the region at this point. Given our special population, we should expect some difficulties in being able to fill positions, but we're working very hard to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to recruit and retain the most excellent teachers that we can, the most excellent parents that we can, and all other staff that support our students. One of the things that is happening that I think is important to note is that we have many districts in the county that are actually looking at exploring a staff co-op because of the difficulties in filling positions. Although we do have some open positions still within our teaching corps, when we look at districts that are much smaller than ours in terms of our teaching staff, they have openings that are anywhere from 3 to 5 times more than what our organization has in terms of openings. There are a few North County districts that have anywhere from 100 to 200 openings at this point. We will now go into our action plan, and Director Dan Kelly will give you an update on that and explain to you some more about where we are with staff.
Good evening. When we look at some action steps for our the acquisition, talent acquisition and development side, we really want to focus on building out providing excellent customer service to our incoming as well as our existing staff, making sure that we're meeting their needs, making them feel welcome and valued as future and current employees. Really working on creating an orientation and onboarding process that is welcoming and inviting, so as new employees come into our district, they feel a sense of community and belonging with our district, as well as continuing to partner with Dr. Macklin on our DEIA efforts. Really looking forward to forming that relationship with Dr. Harris so that she can make sure that through the hiring side, we're doing everything we can to recruit and retain a little bit more, the more diverse and equitable workforce. Next slide, please. So, as Mr. Boyd had mentioned, we have filled our success management team. Lynn Safley, Sarah Schaefer, Jen Soteropoulos, and Amanda Marty were all internal staff, and we did hire Tamika Buford, so she will be starting with us in the next week or two. So she goes through onboarding next week, and I think she starts the end of July. Next slide, please.
Good evening, everybody. The employee relations plan for next school year began with automating the leave process that was deployed on July 1st. The automated process will enhance the employee experience and provide better customer service when the employees apply for FMLA, district medical leave, and non-paid leave. We had over 1,256 employees apply for leave last year. Despite team will also be collaborating with the Assistant Director of Equity to review and align all leave, investigation, customer service, and professional development processes through the lens of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access to ensure equal support to all employees. And we will collaborate with SSD administrators and union leaders to develop a communication plan and strategies to provide a more comprehensive and immediate response when resolving employee concerns, improving that customer service satisfaction, retention, and overall reduction of claims filed with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and Missouri Commission on Human Rights. And last, we will work closely with the HR data analysts within this field to review data, determine trends, and adjust processes to better support overall customer satisfaction.
Director Goulart wasn't able to be here tonight, so I'm going to fill in for her. One of the ways that we want to make sure that we improve customer service when it comes to benefits is making sure that at the front end, people are aware of various benefits and supports that they will receive from SSD. We are expanding the staffing in order to make that happen, and also improving processes, because we understand that once we improve processes, we actually enhance our time to be able to work directly with staff members who have questions. We want to make sure that we're fostering engagement and really push the use of some benefits, some of which I will cover later on in this presentation.
So when we look at hiring data, it really starts with the transfer fair that runs through January through April, January and March, teacher level staff, February and April, paraprofessional staff. So our transfer data is within line of where it has traditionally been. What's kind of tweaked a little bit is the inclusion of positions vacated in the January event are now placed into the March event. So for instance, the 31 transfers that are awarded, those 31 positions that are included in the March event and eligible for internal staff to interview for and potentially transfer into. Next, please. So when you look at hiring data in review, please keep in mind that this is 21-22 in review. So so when we hire, it's running 7/1 to 6/30. So some of the highlights here, we hired paraprofessionals and teachers. We hired 32 paras to teachers and 23 teacher aides to teacher assistants. So again, kind of really highlighting the ability for upward mobility for some of our existing staff. We have the last 4 years of data. We have hired north of 550 staff every single year, with 3 of the last 4 years being north of 650 staff. Next slide, please. So when we look at 22-23 data, a little bit of updates for you in that respect. So for instance, a highlight there would be our support staff increasing, hiring from 53 support staff to 120. So that would be more paraprofessionals hired. So an additional highlight too for our paraprofessionals and teachers, we've increased that number from 19 to 28. So again, really kind of being in line with what we traditionally do when we hire 30 to 40 paras to teachers every single year. Again, I think that promotes, upward mobility for a lot of our staff. Kind of where we're at now, so 22 to 23 hiring, we're just under 300 staff through this cycle, but please keep in mind that's staff that have start dates after July 1. So this is moving forward. So our hiring year will go July 1 to June 30th. So we're kind of just under 300, so we're kind of halfway to that north of 600 figure that we traditionally have been through the last 4 years. Next slide, please. When we look at our current vacancies, again, there's been movement in this area as well. Seen a decrease in our speech pathology positions. Teacher positions are down about 10, sitting around at 41, and a solid decrease of about from 180 to 162 paraprofessional positions. I think it's important to note that 13 of our districts are completely full with teacher staff. And on the para side, we have 4 districts that are fully staffed. And we have 11 districts with 3 or fewer positions. So moving in the right direction. Next slide, please.
Great, thank you. Good evening.
truly, when we talk about the work that SSD is striving to do to build a workforce that represents rich diversity, when we talk about diversity, the definition of diversity is truly differences, understanding that each of our staff members have differences, and celebrating those differences is what makes them unique. And also understanding that we require true DEI work to be a champion. We're committed to collaboration and working together from equity with the Office of Employee Success and Engagement to embrace those models. One of the most often construed points when you talk about especially recruitment retention as it relates to HR and equity is diversity and inclusion. Truly, diversity and inclusion are frequently thought as together the same thing. However, they are not. It is important to understand that when we truly talk about diversity, bringing people to the table who have diverse perspectives, diverse thoughts, diverse characteristics are important. However, your efforts can't stop there. So this is truly some of the work that will be being led by Dr. Jeanette Harris as it relates to equity and HR, because then you foster inclusion. And inclusion really strives to have those persons who have differences among each other, but also have voice and choice in all processes. And so one of the ways I like to think about it tonight, Board of Education, is that diversity is all the ways people differ from each other. Inclusion are actions that help people feel welcome, and then equity are all employees having an opportunity to succeed. So truly, when we talk about demographic data here, as it relates to all staff demographics, and I will say that when we talk about demographic data, are we where we want to be? Absolutely not. But have we made gains on the right increase? We absolutely are. And so when you look at the overall data as it relates to staff demographics, again, 21-22, Dan Kelly did mention that this is not shown the July 1st numbers. This is where the data lies. I do want to note that there has been a total increase of 2% of all African-American employees from 2019 to 2020. Next slide. So truly, when we talk about administrators as it relates to SSD, and one of the points that I want to note is that nationally, only 11.5% administrators identify as Black or African American. Truly, when we talk about SSD here and what that looks like, especially the increase, there has been a 3% increase since 1920 as it relates to African American administrators in SSD school district or in the organization. But really, more importantly, you talk about currently, when we talk about the administrative staff, which is well above the national average of 18 or almost 19% identify as African American or Black. SSD continues to increase representation and leadership, which far exceeds the national average for African American administrators. I want to note that. Next slide, please. While only in Missouri 4.9% of teachers are African American, and really when you talk about African American males in education, less than 2% are in education. So when we talk about the instructional staff at special school district here, 19% identify as African American or Black, and you continue to see an increase of 1% of total instructional employees from 19 and 20. So you can see that Black male and also African American female are both above the state average, and both are on increase. What point do we want to get to? I know that's a question that will be asked, is going to be asked, or has been thought. What point do we want to get to? The overall goal, of course, is 2%, but that's not where we want to get to. If you look at the overall average as it relates to St. Louis County right now, and our student average, about 48%, almost 49% of students identify as Caucasian or white, and about 35% of students identify as African American or Black. So that's where the goal is, right? That's where we want to see our teaching staff. That's where we want to be. And so that happens through targeted, not additional, but intentional efforts to be able to make that work. Now, we talk about Missouri, and again, I'm just using raw data and numbers that relate to Missouri. In Missouri, only 1.2% of educators are Black males in entire Missouri, and only 3.7% are African American. Next slide, please.
Truly, when we talk about here at paraprofessional staff, which has been a increase of 4% from 2019 and 20. And the one thing that I want to talk about just briefly here, just about 7 seconds on this slide, when we talk about paraprofessionals, that when I mention the word diversity, again, diversity is differences, so that's race, gender, ethnicity. We have seen an increase in gender and racial diversity among our paraprofessional workforce over the last 3 years. 2% increase in males, 4% increase in African American pairs, and 1% increase in African American male pairs. Next slide, please. And so, again, the goal that's outlined in the educational equity framework is 2%, but of course, that's not our ultimate goal. We truly understand that through the Office of Equity, DEIA, and the Office of Employee and Success and Engagement to collaborate to ensure that there are targeted recruitment plans or recruitment efforts to meet those critical needs. And that comes a lot with, again, hard work to be able to meet those needs. We are excited about Dr. Tonda Harris, who will help lead the work in collaboration here and to make those pieces work. Thank you.
I want to give you a brief update on the Insurance and Benefits Department. Currently, we are looking at expanding offerings so that we can be as supportive to the whole employee and also enhance wellness. Again, the more that we can take care of employees, the more that we enhance the effectiveness of employees. Next slide. For benefit plans and programs, one of the key things is that we're also trying to make sure that we have access of employees to individualized support. When we look at the Cancer Support Program through Aetna's Transform Oncology, there's a personal navigator that is available for staff members as well as genetic testing. When we look at the Past and Life Mindfulness Program, it provides daily access to at least 14 minutes of daily mindfulness exercises and also hundreds of hours of videos that people can access that addresses issues from anxiety, time management, and inclusion. When we look at additional offerings, Livongo Diabetes also provides a champion, blood glucose monitors, unlimited strips, and coaching. The same thing with Livongo Hypertension. Individuals that wish to access that benefit, they get individual coaching, and they have a connected blood pressure monitor that connects to an app so that they can monitor how their health is as well. Moving forward, we will be having an annual health and wellness fair, and we're going to continue to explore expanding the a la carte models that we think are going to be responsive to the needs of our workforce. That concludes at this time our Office Employee Success and Engagement update.
I have one question that sums it up, and I was looking earlier as the information was being given in reference to the percentages and goals and objectives of equity that we're trying to accomplish, and it was pretty much answered. But the other question came to mind: what is it that white males know or see in education, perhaps, that black males don't? The reason why we have such a hard time seemingly finding not only black individuals, African American individuals, and other minorities as well. So I'm asking that question just based upon, is there something that perhaps is being missed in the black community in reference to education that is not necessarily missed in other communities?
I think that's an important and deep question, and I think part of what we look at is what has been really pushed in terms of viable careers, especially in the black community over the last 15 years. There's been a great push around making sure that children are going into STEM careers, and I think that education has taken a beating in terms of the branding of what it means to be an educator. And I think that when it comes to what people are advocating for the children to do, more often than not, I think within the black community, you have more families that are advocating for their children to pursue, not pursue education, but definitely to pursue other careers outside of education. And I think that's part of the challenge now. So part of like, I think an opportunity for SSD is to make sure that we create world-class opportunity for people so that this will become a default for people to come back into education in numbers that we need.
Because I would think that, given the numbers of African-American families who are dependent on public education opposed to private or charter, that somehow maybe a message is not necessarily being made clear in reference to the opportunities that exist within the educational field, and what those opportunities represent in benefits and careers. Is there anything that you think that we might be able to do, since we are kind of a very influential voice in the educational field? In my mind, I think so. Is there anything that you see that may be a message that we may be able to try to help create that brings that information back?
Well, I think in terms of being able to partner with our partner districts in a couple of different ways. One of them is supporting a more robust career pathways process for students starting in middle school, creating the same types of clubs and experiences that we have for kids that want to go in robotics, the kids that want to go to marketing. I think that there are these wonderful ways in which we'll be able to create some great partnerships around that. And it's about awareness. When you talk to a lot of undergraduate students, which I do throughout my career, a lot of them are not aware of, like, an example, Missouri. Missouri has a very robust retirement system. A lot of students are not aware of the level of loan forgiveness that one can have, especially now with the current federal administration. There's huge advantages, and I know people that have not only received loan forgiveness, but also received money back because they paid over their 10 years. There's a lot of people that aren't aware of that kind of thing happening, and I think that, I think it's about making sure that we partner with our fellow districts around making sure that, one, robust programming, and making sure that we have the right branding and marketing out there about the opportunities.
Any other questions?
I had a question. Slide number 15. Comment was made to me, and it's highlighted in orange red. SSD cannot actively recruit until transfer dates have ended. I just wanted to ask if that is a policy-based obstacle or a practical choice that we're making. Is there a way that as a board we can support you if that's something that should change?
Sure, that component is written into our joint resolution. So it's a joint resolution issue. We are actively really, the hard part is we can't really fill those positions until they have the exhausted internal options for staff. So then that delays that through March. And then, so keep in mind, you're applying for positions through March, and then you're interviewing in April. And so it really delays things. So we can be mindful of those timelines, continue to screen our applicants, continue to place them in hiring pools, continue to have conversations about what a contract without an assignment might look like. So can we then go to our staff and say that are a little hesitant, saying, I'm reluctant to enter into a contract without knowing where I'm going. But maybe we say, hey, maybe you want to work in the South area. So, on average, we have 30 positions in the South. So, we could start having those conversations with applicants a little bit sooner to identify pools of people that are comfortable saying, I'm good with working for special school district if I'm in the South area or if I'm in the North area, so that we can then kind of have pools of applicants ready to go. So when the time gets there, then administrators can start considering external applicants. So that's really the rule, is that you have to consider internal staff have to have those opportunities first prior to external. To your point, what can the board do? I think through the negotiation process, I think it's collaborating with our union groups, showing our data, having those conversations about what this looks like in the timeline in terms of hiring, knowing that things have really become super competitive between school districts over the last year, and I anticipate that moving forward as well.
I just wonder, would starting that transfer process in December as opposed to January be more, would it be better for the folks who want to make the transfers as well, just so they know what's going on?
Sure, and that's something we can absolutely discuss with our teacher union. Have those conversations on what that looks like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Any other questions? Got a couple. We had a large number of parents and teachers, and we had talked about, oh, that was a great deal. I agree, that's a great deal. But we've seen the individuals that have the most difficulty for our new teachers have been our parents and teachers. You know, in fact, there was a doctoral dissertation that looked at that specifically, and that was one of the problems. What can we do to stop that, or at least to help that?
Sure.
Because I don't want, and we've seen, even as a board, anecdotally, we've looked, the data from the dissertation laid it out, showed the data, but then anecdotally, this year, we've seen a lot of individuals that were first-year teachers, second-year teachers who had come up through the ranks, and then asked to go back.
Yes, sir.
What can we do to stop, not to stop them from wanting that, but what type of support can we give them? Because that seems to be like a different breed, a different type.
Yeah, so when I think about over the last year or two with the realignment of our partner districts, making sure that we have adequate administrative staff with the director at each level, making sure that each of our partner districts have that instructional coach to really provide that support. We've really looked at setting aside funding for the carry mentorship through year 3. So rather than stop at year 2, we, working with Dr. Bolt, we really have stepped up our orientation and mentoring programs to make sure we carry it into that 3rd year so that we can provide support into their 3rd year. So hopefully by that time, they're established, a little bit more established than they were than when we used to stop it at year 2. So I think those are the things that we can do.
Can we keep looking at that data on this,
Absolutely.
compare the individuals who have risen to the ranks and then later decided to leave versus our new students, our new teachers who came in and then decided to leave? I want to make sure that we help our staff, but I don't want to eat our staff, and that's what it would look like.
Because yeah, on one hand, it's a great pathway for our staff, so we want to make sure that we're supporting them to keep them, right? Once they achieve that certification, once they achieve that position, that they can keep it, they can stay in that position.
Then I got a couple quick questions. So, current vacancies that we have right now, are they in line with last year's?
A little bit higher than last year, but not in, when we look at our last 2 to 3 years, or last 3 to 4 years, they're in line with what they have been. Last year was kind of a
That's, to me, that's always important, so I know
Yep.
we have it
Yes,
before.
sir.
Last question. When we give percentages, can I have the ends to total ends? And the reason why is when I'm hearing that there's an increase of 1% or 2% in male teachers or black male teachers or whatever, that doesn't give the, I mean, the percentages are fine, but I don't know, does that mean just one more person, 2 more people? You know, how is it significant? And I think if I had, besides the percentages, if I had the total end there also, that would help.
Yes, sir.
Just a comment. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Last one?
Good evening, President Cuneo, Vice President Petra, Board of Education, Dr. Keenan. My name is Jeff Hogg. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. With me this evening is Mr. Toby Clodfelter, Director of Maintenance and Facilities. We're going to give you an update on the summer construction projects and a little bit of what we're looking for in the future as well. So what you see in front of you is South Tech. That is our probably largest renovation going on right now. And it's also the last of our buildings being updated per the plan. So every building has been touched, every building has been updated. This is our last major renovation for that. So as you can see what we've done there, we've created a new entry. We've created a new stairway in that entry. We've renovated our admin offices, and then around the back, which you'll see in pictures here in a second. We've created a new student entrance as well as parking lot and bus routes. And so as you look here, could you go back one slide, please? This is the stairway in the entry. You used to walk into the entry and it was double doors, low ceiling, an office off to the right, kind of dated. And so what we've done is we've opened it up, we brought it out, we brought it up, and we have put this very impressive, very open staircase so that if you're going to the second floor, you go right up the staircase and they're almost like it's supposed to be, as opposed to working your way through the entranceway into a side hallway up some stairs. So it really becomes more welcoming. Our tech schools are world class. We have a great entrance, great welcome at North Tech, and now we're gonna have that at South Tech too. So we'll have the entranceways, the welcoming, to really support the type of education our students are getting there as well. Next slide, please. And so this is on the back side of the building. As you can see, the blue is all new. What we did with, where you see all the dirt and concrete, it was just a slow sloping grass plane that came out. It wasn't useful. There was a concrete path that walked up there. And so what we've done is we have rerouted the bus routes. We used to have the buses and then picked up in front and dropped off in that main entryway. So then 4 times a day, your main entryway was blocked by buses. And so what we've done is we've now rerouted them to the back and we've created a student entryway. You'll see the blue, that lower level is an awning, an overhang so that our students don't have to wait in the rain. It's as you'll see over here at New Owner, our other schools. And then to the right of the higher blue, we've put in a new elevator for easier access for all students. And so that is kind of the changes that are taking place at South Tech. And I'm going to let Toby kind of talk about time frame and what still needs to be done.
So as you can see, site work is still going on. We've had some delays. I think we had 39 weather days, but we're still following our critical path on both the inside and the outside. Cold form steel, flooring, finished products are all going in the main admin area. The front foyer is a little bit behind, but our current deadline for completion is August 9th. And we feel like we can make that. We may be painting the parking lot the day before the kids get here, but we'll be pretty close.
And the nice part about that is, yes, we are planning to be open by the start of school, but if we're not, it doesn't delay what we're doing with students. This was all in construction over the course of the past year. So even if we are delayed a little bit, which we're not expecting, we're not going to hinder students with their education for the year. Next slide, please. And so as you know, Bridges is currently located inside South Tech. They have 4 or 5 classrooms and an office, but the space is dated. And so what we were able to do with planning and the help of administration at South Tech is we were able to open up the electric trades and masonry building. We were able to move them back inside, and so then what we did with this exterior building is we gutted it. And we're able to, with the work of the architect, put in 5 or 6 classrooms, office space, a multi-purpose room for our students to, shoot some baskets, get a little energy out, so it's not just in a classroom all day. There's some outside space. There's a small area for eating. So what we've really done is created an entire building for our Bridges program, which our students deserve. And if you want to talk about time frame on that.
Sure. Again, we're right now shooting for August 4th on this project. It's running parallel with South Senior. The new addition has created a few problems for us with our groundwater management, which they're working on right now. The front entry that you see on this picture is primarily for safety and security. It has a room for a resource officer. We're using armor core and armor film on all the windows, so it kind of gives a safe space for a single point of entry.
So we are excited about this building as well. Next slide, please. Currently, our adult education, we're renovating part of C Wing at North Tech. We have 2 adult education sites. One is at South Tech, and the other is at the Met Center. We leased part of the Met Center, and as we come up with that lease is scheduled to double. And so we started looking at some other areas, and we had some areas at North Tech. So what we've done is we've created more space for the program, for the adult ed program, more classrooms, more storage, their own entryway, some security doors and glasses that still separate them a little bit from North Tech, so that is their own area. And so basically what we've done is we know the collaboration works at South Tech, and so we're going to be able to provide that for our students at North Tech as well. We want to pursue those. If you want to talk about how that's wrapping up, because that's almost finished.
It is almost finished. The only thing that we're still really working on is our fire suppression system. We add sprinklers anytime we get a chance to remodel a section of the building. All the flooring, painting, lighting, ceiling, and everything else is complete. We're just waiting on doors and storefront for that new side entrance for the program.
And the next slide, please. And our last two projects are our playgrounds. So we reassessed, we evaluated where our playgrounds were, and we started looking that we needed some new playgrounds with some new equipment. And so we have put in two playgrounds, one at Litzinger, one at Southview. You can see in the PowerPoint some of the equipment. There's also a pamphlet in front of you that kind of shows the layout and some other equipment as well. But it's really all about inclusive settings. We have inclusive swings, roller slides, inclusive spinners at ground level. Next slide, please. We have mats, trampolines that are ground level. We have musical instruments, musical equipment, some arch disc swings. Next slide, please. Some inclusive spinners. It's all about access. You can see our ramps and some areas for our students to explore and be part of what's going on. So when we finish these two, these will be two state-of-the-art playgrounds that our students can enjoy. I know we're about, what, 3/4 of the way through those two?
We are currently, all the site work is done, retaining walls, the gravel work, concrete work. We're just getting ready to pour the footings and foundations, and the date, it hasn't been set yet, but it should be mid to late August for the drop ship for all the equipment. They'll assemble it, put the soft floor in place, and we should make it no problem at all as far as the deadline.
And these were put in with the input from the principals. So it wasn't, this is, cookie cutter, this is the principals we're collaborating with, and so they are excited as well. Next slide, please. One of the projects we did here pretty quickly was move, as you know, our entrance from right out here down to the lower level. We were discussing that we had kind of outgrown this level up here. It was very confined space. And we realized that we had a very welcoming area with a lot of potential on that first floor. And so as you can see in that top left picture, our maintenance crew, our safety and security crew, and our communications crew, our department did a great job with turning this space over in less than a month. So a lot of the old landscaping, overgrown landscaping was removed, new fresh bushes, trees, mulch were put in. We created some visitor handicap parking spots and visitor spots, so the access to the front doors is a lot easier. Again, you can see the sign, the flags. Communications did a great job, not only directing people to the lower level, but making it very welcome as well. You can see in that middle picture, you'd have to look, but the side windows kind of have a screen on them with our new logo and the blue wave on the bottom. It looks incredibly clean. And then we have the new sign that says Social School District Central Office Main Entrance. So the markings are very good. And then we kind of revamped, renovated the inside a little bit, coat of fresh paint everywhere, cleaned the carpets, cleaned the floors, moved some chairs down for a sitting area. And then, as you can see, the space at this desk is much larger than what we have out here. So it really allows, if there's two people, they're not on top of each other. If we have more than one welcome, more than one person coming in, they're not on top of each other. Plus, with everything we're doing with our new HR department, it's right there. They can go right through, and the access is there. So, again, communications did a great job. You can see the frosting on the window, the accent blue wall, the welcome sign, and you can't see it here, but it's welcome in numerous languages. So it's just a very cool, very welcoming area. But again, maintenance, facilities, safety and security, and communications did a great job. We turned that around in a month, and it has been a great move. Next slide, please. And so we do have one bid out right now, and this is a bigger project that we've talked about. We've already purchased the land for the central garage. We have the bid out and it's due September 6th. We'll start work this fall, depending on where that bid comes in, and then we look to finish that project up in spring of 2024, kind of that 2023, 2024, middle of the winter. We currently lease the building we're in, and that lease is up May 2024. So with this kind of time frame, we're very confident.
It should be good.
Yes, yes. All right, and so we will let you guys know where those come in, after they're due on the 6th. Next slide, please.
May I please update that? We have pushed it to the 8th, primarily because of Labor Day weekend, trying to get contractors to turn it in. We moved it several days.
Perfect, so that concludes our summer update of summer construction. Be more than happy to answer any questions.
I have one quick question, comment. On North Tech, with the adult ed, when we open that up, can we contact the mayor of Florissant? Just get some press out of that and open, I think to have the adult ed there will be a great deal to have it there. I think it'll be a great deal for the city of Florissant. And I know that when we did the groundwork for down there, everybody wanted to be involved. They may want to get into a photo shoot on that too.
I just have a comment. I love the playground, how my son is going to enjoy it very, very much. I have a hard time finding a place for him. He's a large 12-year-old. And so I just love it, so.
Yeah, that's cool. We're excited. It's gonna be very cool for our kids.
Love it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Get chili first.
All right.
All righty. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, please take 5 and we'll go into executive session. Thank you.
6:33, Dr.
I was watching it at 6:30.
That was great.
Well.